Welcome to this episode of the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering podcast. Today, my guest is Miska Paget, who is one of our featured poets, headline poet, and a wonderful lady that has a veterinary practice here in the Prescott area. Miska, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
How did you get started in poetry?
Oh my goodness. Well, I've always enjoyed telling stories, and I started writing for myself when I was probably about junior high age, and would save my poems. And over time, I developed a big binder of poems that were mostly just things that I would share with family and friends, like if we had a barbecue or something. But as I got further in my career and my writing kind of started changing and developing, I noticed that I wrote a lot about the Western way of life and a lot about animals. And so cowboy poetry kind of piqued my interest because I felt like I naturally was already writing in that genre because that's just pretty much the life that I've lived. And my first cowboy poetry gathering that I went to was in 2019, and it was the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering. And we had just moved to Prescott, and I remember sitting in the audience watching these people that were writing and sharing about what their life was and thinking, oh my gosh, I found my village. I found my people. And so I think we went to the Thursday night performance of the gathering, and we went back and did some of the daytime performances for the gathering. And one of them was a invitation only audition session. And I thought that would be really interesting to go to see how that process worked. Not that I really ever thought of myself being up there on that stage, but I was interested.
That day.
I know you do.
I was there.
That's when I first met you. And I went, and so yes, very much a member of the audience. And but my husband urged me to. Well, I met Liz Graham there, and she and my husband Keith urged me to share a poem. And I was not dressed the part at all. I was dressed in a sundress and some sandals, but I went ahead and did it, and I'm glad I did. So,
Yep. Well, as I said, I remember that day. Another member of our performers committee was there. And as you say, it was an audition type session. Yeah. And you did your poem. You were doing it. You hadn't even finished it. And we looked at each other and went, and we've invited you back every year since.
Thank you.
And we're proud to have you.
Thank you.
Why don't you share one of your poems with us?
Oh my goodness. I could do you want me to share the one that I shared with you guys that day?
Sure.
That's a simple one. It's definitely an animal poem. It's definitely a Miska poem. And it's probably the most famous poem I've written. So I'll share that one with you guys. It's called The Best Horses in Heaven, They Have No Tail. The best horses in heaven, they have no tail. This is a rule they all know without fail. For when a new horse arrives with a shortcut bob, everyone knows that this horse did a very good job. His owner couldn't bear to part with her friend, so she saved his tail wrapped in ribbons and braids to hold with his memory in a very loving way. To enter heaven without a tail, it's an honor, a message that without fail announces to everyone far and wide that this horse was more than a wonderful ride. No, this horse was loved and cherished by one. And when his time, serving here on earth, was done, he left behind a broken heart and a soul from which he never will part. That's the best horses in heaven. They have no tail.
Thank you, Miska.
Yes.
We heard it there. And it's, I think, one of the very important things you get in cowboy poetry is you get stories from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely.
I know you've been down that path.
Yes. Yes, I have. Yes. That poem actually was written after I left the ranch of one of my really good friends after I put our horse to sleep. And that poem just kind of came to my mind, and because we had saved his tail and we had wrapped it up and braided it and put a bow around it. And I thought, you know what, I want to write this for her. And so I did. And I wrote that poem real quick. And then I shared it with her that evening. I emailed it to her, and then she shared it on Facebook. And then it has gone all over the world now, which was not my intention at all. But I think that was when I first realized that, that sharing your heart and writing down those very special experiences that you have, which are uniquely your own, because nobody has those exact experiences except for you in your life. Mm-hmm. That is what I think I treasure the most about reading other people's poetry, about listening to other people's poetry, because it's not just a story. I mean, certainly it's a story a lot of the time, but it's people's, their hearts and what they see and how they see it. And that makes it magic.
Super.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, you've just talked about what makes cowboy poetry so very special. I've been involved with the committee now 35 of 37 of the years. And the reason that I keep doing what I do is because of you all and what you share from your hearts, which is, to me, very, very special.
Thank you.
So other than poetry, what do you do in your life?
Other than poetry, what do I do? Poetry is certainly one thing that I do mostly when I'm trying to get away from everything else. Well, I'm a large animal vet. I've been a veterinarian for 27 years. I'm a Colorado State graduate. I was the only gal out of 8 students that was 100% large animal in my class in 1998. I have been a livestock veterinarian my entire career. I've never worked indoors. Proud of that. But sometimes it is the bane of my existence when it's cold and windy and rainy.
I bet it is.
It is. But so that is a lot of what I do. I also, my husband and I, we have a small ranch out in Williamson Valley, north of Prescott. We have 12 horses, a mule, 2 goats, a really old alpaca, a big fat pig named Pig Squeak, 4 dogs, 1 retired barn cat that lives in my vet room that I run my little vet practice out of, and then a whole bunch of barn kitties, and I don't even know how many. I don't even know. They just keep coming more and more. It's a problem. I'm going to have to do something about it at some point.
They're going to make you get a license for that zoo out there.
They might. I need to. Probably, yeah. You're probably right. I'll probably get a call from somewhere saying, "Hey, you have too many animals out there. You need to limit your numbers." But yeah.
So now that you've become kind of a regular, shall I say, at the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering, share with us a little bit of what that experience is each year in August when we have our annual gathering.
For me, it's a reunion. It's become a family gathering. I have been blessed to get to meet a lot of amazingly special people. not only cowboy poets, both female and male cowboy poets, but also the people in the Western music industry are amazing, amazing artists, but just amazing people. And so I look forward hugely to having the opportunity to see all my friends. But it's also the folks in the audience that come year after year. And you get to know those people too, and check in on them and find out how their ranch did last year and what's new in their neck of the woods, because people come from all over.
Yes, they do.
So it really is, it's a family affair. If you've come once, then you definitely want to come back.
And then, not to label people, but we have a lot of city people that come to the gathering. People from Prescott and the Prescott area, people come up from Phoenix.
Absolutely.
We have patrons that come to the night shows that we've recorded their addresses, and they come from all over the United States and even some from foreign countries.
It's so neat. So
it makes it very special to know that we're sharing something that's that important to so many people. At the night shows, what do you do?
I try, when I'm sharing my poetry, I really try to welcome people into my life. And I when I am creating my sequence of poems that I'm going to share with people, I try to make sure that they laugh. And I try to make sure that they cry, or at least I touch their heart somehow. But most importantly, I want them to go on a journey with me into my world. And that's really, for me, what sharing my poetry is about. Because if you listen to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, you're going to get to know me a lot better. You're going to get to know a lot about what makes me tick, and about what makes me happy, and about what I see in my world. And so it's a journey, I think. For me, I try to make it a journey.
And at the gathering in August, we have, we start with a Thursday night show.
Yes.
And then Friday morning.
Yes.
You're amongst all of our performers that go out to our local nursing homes and assisted living facilities and perform.
Which I love.
Tell me a little bit about your experiences there.
I love that. I think that is so fun, because I've been to a different facility year after year now. So I've gotten to meet a lot of different people in Prescott, and just being able to reach out and bring a completely different world than what they're experiencing, at their care facilities is huge. To take them somewhere else for a little while. But it's also really funny, because every once in a while there's a cowboy out there in the audience that is a resident at one of those places, or a lady that used to ride barrels, and so they'll take you aside after the performance and share their ranching experiences or their experiences as a rodeo cowboy, or running barrels. And so that is really fun, because that you're helping them relive some really special memories too.
Yes.
And that's pretty amazing.
Yep.
Pretty special.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Then Friday afternoon, we have day sessions at the college.
Yes.
They run an hour long. Actually, they run 45 minutes with a 15-minute break, so that you all the performers can move from room to room. Mm-hmm. And we have over 40 performers coming, poets and musicians and storytellers. And you're usually scheduled with maybe 2 or 3 of those in a session. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how do you interact with them when you are doing that?
It's so fun. Now, most of the people I know most of the time, but every once in a while I get to meet somebody different that I have never performed with before. And that's always a really enjoyable experience, to be able to get to meet somebody new and to, listen to them sing or perform their poetry. It's hilarious, though, if a group of performers that have known each other for quite some time get together, because they will come up with some really fun little shindigs to do in front of people. and so sometimes it just the chemistry on those little mini stages can be really, really fun, unexpectedly fun if you get into a group of people that just hit it off or haven't seen each other for a while, and they'll banter back and forth off of each other. Another fun thing too is I'm a poet, so I write words. However, I do have some friends that are singer-songwriters, and we have gotten together and, taken one of my poems and turned it into a Western music song. And that is fun too, if we get to share a session together, because I might recite my poem, how it was originally written. And then when it's their turn to get on stage, they'll go ahead and sing the song that came out of that poem. And so that is really special because, as you know, a lot of Western music started with poetry.
Yes.
And so being able to see that bridge, just happening right in front of your eyes as an audience member is pretty cool.
Neat.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
And then Friday night, we have a night show. Our night shows are ticketed. The day sessions, all the day sessions, Friday afternoon and all day Saturday, are free to the public. So there's no admission charge. You can come in the front door of the Jim and Linda Lee Performing Arts Center at the college, pick up a free program and look at the schedules and then choose where you want to be. We have 5 different sessions running simultaneously all day long. People like you, the performers, poets, and musicians, generally are scheduled every other hour. So they get an hour break and then they're on stage, so to speak, for an hour. And a lot of times I know the audience will be coming up to you and asking you questions, what's your background or whatever, things that you may not have covered during that performance.
Yes.
Or did you ever live in a certain town or visit a certain place? And I know that you, in your poetry career, have had the opportunity to visit a lot of other towns and gatherings and perform for other audiences.
Yes.
Which is really neat to see.
Yes.
It's wonderful for us to see that we helped open the door to get you kind of started in performing cowboy poetry, because we believe it's very special.
You certainly did. And I mean, I kind of, in the back of my mind, I always think it's your fault and Keith's fault that I ended up sharing my poetry publicly. But I have to say that without Arizona Cowboy Poets, I would never, have shared what I write. I just always would have kept it in my binder. So without you guys serving as a launch pad for me, it just would still be just in that white binder sitting in my office at home.
Well, I know your story is unique, but there's a lot of parallels with a lot of poets. Chris Isaacs, who will be with us again this year, recently shared part of his story. And he had done some poetry and, kind of was a closet poet. He didn't think that his poetry was worth being heard. And someone invited him to Elko, to the National Cowboy Poetry Gathering. And then he declined because he didn't think he was good enough to go.
Oh, wow.
And then he did go.
That's crazy.
And since then, he's been invited all over the United States, and I think he's done little performing outside the United States. Of quite a sought-after poet who has been at it a long time and is very enjoyable, and he loves humor as you love humor. And then we have, after the day sessions on Saturday, we have our Saturday night show, which is our closing show. And again, that's a ticketed show. You're going to be part of the group that's going to the Phippen Museum pretty soon.
Yeah. When is that?
That's, well, actually the opening reception of a show that the Phippen is doing with 37 years of Cowboy Poets posters and art. Cool. And all of our posters are from very talented artists who have depicted a scene, something Western cowboy riding. Joe Beeler created one years ago of a old Ford car racing a cowboy across the plain. and I'm sure they did that in the day. And a number of our artists will be in attendance at that show, at the reception, and then at a heritage event that'll follow that. And the exhibit of the 37 years of posters at the Phippen Museum will run from June 7th through August 31st. So during those 3 months, be sure and visit the Phippen Museum and see all of the posters from all those years. There's a lot of excellent Western art that you're going to have the opportunity to see, and then you get to see everything else in the museum. So
it's a really fun place to go. We love, whenever we have people visiting from out of town, we always get to go to the Phippen.
Yep.
It's fun.
George Phippen, that the museum is named for, was, I'll say, an acquaintance of mine. I probably can't call him a friend because I was very young in those days when I knew him, but I knew George and knew the Phippen family, and Mom and Dad were friends with all of them because I've been here a long time.
So how long have you been here? Let's ask some questions.
Well, maybe all of us didn't come from somewhere, but I did. We came from New York, actually, New York City, in the fall of 1946, which was right after I was born. Okay. My dad had been an asthmatic in New York. He had turned blue before I was born, and they had revived him, which was pretty miraculous. And the doctors told Mom and Dad that if you're going to see your boys grow up, you're going to move to Prescott, Arizona. Okay. And if you go downtown and look at the plaque in front of the post office, the downtown post office on Goodwin Street, you'll see that the plaque reads that it was a place where asthmatics came to improve their health. And he had 18 years here, so it was good for him.
Very. That's good.
Yeah. So I've been here 78 years.
And so, wow. You know Prescott way better than I do. I know. And you guys have been out. I mean, you had a ranch, right? Or you were raising chickens at some point. There was chickens. There were chickens. I remember a story about chickens. How can somebody that wears a cowboy hat have chickens? Well, because cowboys come in all different shapes and sizes, and some cowboys are chicken farmers. So that's okay. You just have to herd them a little differently, and Well, I'm probably going to claim to wear a cowboy hat, but I'm truly not a cowboy. And yes, Mom and Dad had the opportunity to buy 160 acres out Williamson Valley in 1947.
moved out there in the fall of 1948, right before Prescott had 4 feet of snow on level ground.
Mm-hmm.
And we got through that. We were snowed in for 10 days.
Oh, my gosh.
But and Williamson Valley Road in those days was what I later called a 3-track road, meaning that the center track was shared by traffic going north and south. Mm-hmm. And then there was the outside track. And whenever you met a car, which you could drive clear to town back in those days and not meet a car, but if you met a car, one of you with the least ominous ditch pulled off, got your wheels in the ditch, got far enough off the road that the other car could get by. And then when you got by the other car, you stopped and looked back and made sure that your neighbor, because we were all neighbors back in those days, got back on the road and was moving. And then you went on.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful experience growing up in Williamson Valley. I went to Prescott schools. All my schooling was here. Went to Miller Valley School, which is unfortunately not there anymore. Prescott Junior High School, which is where the county building is, the sheriff's office and all that on Gurley Street. And then what's now Mile High Middle School was Prescott High School.
Okay.
So, and we celebrated our 60th class reunion last year. This year will be our 61st.
That's so awesome.
Long time. I often say to people that, kind of start apologizing that they're not from Prescott. And I say, I'm not from Prescott either, but I was lucky enough to get here before you.
You're as local as it gets now, though.
Meaning I've been here a long time. So.
Yeah, you have. So I'm going to ask one more question. Sorry, I'm turning into the interviewer. How did you get involved in the gathering, in the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering?
Well, Barb and I love the Western life. We love animals, horses. We had horses. We'd love interacting with cowboys and ranchers because they're just salt of the earth people, and I respect that amongst those, like every kind of people there may be some bad ones, but by and large, cowboys and ranchers are super people, and so we interacted with them, spent about 25 years volunteering at the Prescott Frontier Days Rodeo. Did that for a long time. I was actually on the board of directors of the rodeo in 1988 in the centennial year of the rodeo, which was quite an honor. And a friend of mine, Marshall Considine, who loved cowboys and loved the Western way of life, who was actually the retired chief of homicide of the Chicago police. Kind of like, you did what? But he was involved with the gathering the first couple of years.
Okay.
And so the third year, the gathering became part of Charlotte Hall Museum, and he was on the committee, and he invited me to come join the committee, and I did that, and I loved the people. The committee was wonderful. Charlotte Hall Museum was a wonderful place to have the gathering in those early years.
Yeah.
And I'm still here.
Yeah. You have been the core of the gathering that's who I think of when I think of Arizona Cowboy Poets is Jim Buchanan.
Well, I was looking at our membership and volunteer list just a couple of days ago, And our membership is now 75 plus, and we have, including volunteers, we have over 100 people who very, very generously and with super talents dedicate their time to helping us put on the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering. And, they're the lifeblood.
They work so hard.
Of the gathering, yeah.
The committees, the number of committees that are involved and pulling this gathering off every year, and how it really is an all year thing. It is. And it's like clockwork. It's amazing. It's a well-oiled machine, how it works.
Well,
it is.
As I say, we've been blessed with a lot of talent along the way that have joined us and helped us. And we're very thankful and blessed by that.
Yeah. There's some great people.
Yep. Similarly blessed with poets and musicians who love to come to Prescott.
Yes.
I honestly can't tell you when I've called up a performer, a poet or a musician, and said, we're inviting you to come to the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering next year. We always do this in the fall after the gathering. And so we call them up and we say, we're inviting you, and we can pay you X, which is a very, very modest stipend for the travel that they incur. We do try to reimburse mileage going back and forth. And I can't remember when one has said, I don't want to come to Prescott. They all want to come to Prescott.
Of course they do. It's such a huge honor to be able to come here and share, and also the people are so kind, and, it is a fun place to come. It really is.
We want to make it that and keep it that. Yeah. And we work hard at that, I would say, making it a place where you all want to come.
Yeah.
We're blessed with being able to share some of the best talent in the industry, if you want to call it an industry, and a lot of them. And we put a very, very high emphasis on people that have experience as a cowboy at some point in their life, or in the agricultural world, or they are a rancher. The people that have lived the lifestyle, just as you have been part of that lifestyle, they understand things that you can't learn in a book.
Very true.
You need to live the lifestyle, and I know that I'm an observer. As I said, I am not a cowboy. I've ridden horses and gathered cattle and even drawn day wages, but I do not consider myself a cowboy. I have great respect for those that are. They're special people. The way they care for the animals and the livestock, even though they know that a beef cow is going to end up being slaughtered and end up on somebody's table someday, they care for them a lot.
Yes,
and,
they do.
And it's not just caring for them financially.
No.
It's a true caring kind of feeling that's in their hearts.
I can definitely attest to that.
Yep.
Because, you do get to have those conversations and get to observe people at their very best and very worst as a veterinarian sometimes. And ranchers universally really care about the experience of their livestock. They do. And that, I think, being able to be a veterinarian for livestock and getting to have those people as my clients is the biggest gift of my entire career, because, because they're just real good people. So
Yeah.
agreed.
And I'm going to let you put your thinking cap on for a humorous poem.
Okay. All right. I'll think about it.
We'll have our raffle booth out at the Prescott Frontier Days, world's oldest rodeo, the week of July 4th. 8 performances out there. We invite you to come out and stop by our booth and, of course, go see the rodeo. It's the world's oldest rodeo. As I said earlier, I was part of that for many years. As a child, I was up on the chutes watching what was going on with great interest because there wasn't much else to do in Prescott, Arizona back in those days. Back in the 50s and 60s, it was a quiet little town. So, Miska, that aside, you have a humorous poem for us?
I do. I have a lot of humorous ones, but this one always gets requested. So it must be extra funny. I don't know, but it's a true story. So, it has, I'll just let it unfold. You can figure out what it's about. One of the more common questions I face as a vet is, what's the worst you reckon? Just how bad does it get? Now, they're hoping for a story of drama and true gore, but I have to tell them honestly, not much phases me anymore. Well, then what's the oddest or the strangest that you've seen? Or what's the saddest and critter most rank and most mean? I'll just crack a proud smile when shove comes down to push. Let me tell you a story that is truly worthwhile. When I had as my patient the famous Barbara Bush. Now, it started with a phone call, as most emergencies do. Dr. Miska, I need please a favor from you. Little Morgan's hen, her favorite friendly one, well, can you please come fix what our dog Riley has done? In all honesty, I'm not sure that there's much that you can do, but she won't listen to me. It's best to come from you. So, to the Nelson farm I rushed with an ache deep in my heart, knowing this sweet little girl was crushed and hoping I could do my part. It all became painfully real as I drove up the drive. Dr. Miska, it's Barbara. You have to keep her alive. Tear-stained and bawling, she held out that hen. The damage was quite appalling. Dr. Miska, she's my very best friend. Barbara Bush was a mess. Riley had got her real bad, and I truly must confess this scenario was painfully sad. Now, Morgan, there is not much I can do. Dr. Miska, you can fix her. I believe in you. So we put Barbara on the ground, and sure enough, she could stand, and then she pecked down a few kernels of corn from Morgan's precious hand. These cuts are quite severe, but I'll do what I'm able. And we persevered. We operated on Barbara Bush on the picnic table. Now, I plucked out her feathers and cleaned her up real good, and on a table meant for family get-togethers, I did what I could. It looked like Sunday dinner as I trimmed and I stitched, but fixing that chicken's innards went off without a hitch. Now, I worried quite a bit as I cleaned up my post-operative mess. I have to admit and I have to confess, chicken doc, I am not. What meds should I give? What have I got to help Barbara Bush live? Then I remembered. While skimming my formulary one day, the antibiotic dose for an ostrich. Yep, there it is. Oh, yay. I can dial that dose down to Barbara Bush size. I am the best vet in town. So crafty. and wise. As I cruised down their drive on the way back to our ranch, well, Barbara Bush was alive. I had given that bird a chance. I worried a bit that night that the hen would pass away, but to my delight, I received a special text the next day. It was a photo and a big emoji smile. The pic looked like a blob of white dough. I stared at it for quite a while. I finally gave up and texted back. Now, what's this? I begged. Her reply made me laugh. Barbara Bush had laid an egg. Barbara Bush. That is a true story about Morgan and her little hen, Barbara Bush. And Barbara actually ended up living and survived for another 2 or 3 years after that. And Morgan is in her second year of college now, and she's going to be an egg teacher.
Wow.
Right? So that's a true story. Kind of funny, but 100% true.
And from your experience and my experience, what you hear at the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering may be a lot of true stories.
It is. I think they all start true. I certainly have some that have a true foundation, but then they become a little bit untrue. But it's not. It's the audience's job to figure out where it goes wrong. Yeah. But some of them sound horribly untrue, and they actually are true.
There's a little embellishment.
Just a little bit. Poetic license.
Oh, gosh, that's wonderful. Well, you're the perfect example, I would say, of what makes the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering so special.
Thank you.
That the personalities that are there, how they come out. There are some, that are much more reserved than you are, and then there's a few that are just, expressive.
Yes, that's a nice word.
and we love that.
Thank you.
And I will mention we've got a couple of kind of special people coming this year to the gathering. One is Yvonne Hollenbeck from up in, she's up from the Dakotas, and she'll be down. And she has recently shared with me that coming to Prescott will be her last official traveling gathering performance. Oh, wow. She's done it for many years, a wonderful lady, ranch woman, husband's a cowboy rancher. They have a ranch. She is loved by everyone that hears her. And then this year we're blessed to have a local man back. Ross Knox was actually at the first 37 years ago Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering. Local man that went on with other parts of his life. I think he sets a record for miles logged packing into the Grand Canyon. He packed supplies to Phantom Ranch for years. And then he went up in the Northwest and packed up there. He's cowboyed, done all kinds of different things. And he's moved back to Yavapai County, lives down in Skull Valley now, and he'll be back with us this year. So that's neat. And then we have the Arizona Wildflowers that we've found everybody loves. They're 5 members, 4 girls and a boy, young man, I should say, that come up and they are musicians. They all The girls have played and won national fiddling contests, so they're very, very talented. They sing beautifully, and you will enjoy them a whole bunch. And then there's the other 35 plus that are probably equally as good, but we don't have time today to talk about them all. So I'm going to say, Miska, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in to the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering episode podcast. And we hope that you will come to the gathering August 7th, 8th, and 9th this year. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Get the days right there, Jim. And we thank you and say adios for now. See you down the trail.